Hello everybody. Today I'm announcing that we shall soon return to the celebration of Mass with a congregation. Hallelujah! I'm really glad to be saying this since it has been over 2 months since we've been able to be together for the celebration of the Eucharist. This has been a great heartache for all of us, for me, for our priests, and for yourselves. After all, the Eucharist is both the heart and lifeblood of our Catholic way of life. To be apart from it is painful beyond words. Thanks be to God, we've been able to be together remotely, united in heart and faith, to participate in live-streamed Mass and make an act of spiritual communion. We have continued to worship as we must, and God's grace has reached us. Yet it's simply not the same as being physically present in church together to receive the sacrament. Now that the provincial government has started to ease restrictions on assembly, we can now begin a return to our churches. The Bishops of Alberta have established Monday, June 1st, as the earliest start date for resumption. As I'll explain in a moment, return to Mass will be under a number of strict conditions. Beginning on a weekday will allow everyone a few days to get used to them prior to the Masses on the following Sunday. In addition, June 1st is a beautiful feast day in our liturgical calendar. It's the memorial of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Mother of the Church, a providential occasion to entrust this delicate moment in the life of the Church to her maternal intercession. Now, I want to emphasize that this announcement does not mean a return to normal. Far from it. This will be a very gradual return under stringent conditions that we're simply not accustomed to. Here's some background. Over the past number of weeks, I and Bishop McGrattan of Calgary have been chairing a task force of priests assisted by medical specialists to formulate a set of guidelines to direct the resumption of the public celebration of Mass. Bishops everywhere in Canada have been doing the same thing. The guidelines we've established are for implementation in our parishes throughout the province of Alberta. Our directives aim at ensuring and balancing two things: the worthy and reverent celebration of the Eucharist in accordance with church norms, and the safety of everyone through protocols that align with the health measures stipulated by medical authorities. Here are the key points of those conditions. The total number of participants allowed at any Mass is 50. Keep in mind that this number will include the priest, liturgical ministers, and volunteers such as greeters, ushers, and cleaners, so that the actual number of parishioners able to be seated will be less than 50. You'll need to sanitize your hands upon entering the church and again when you exit. Seating in the church will be arranged to ensure the required physical distancing among attendees, that distance of 2 meters in every direction. We need to assure fair and equitable access to Mass for all the parishioners. With such a small allowable number for any given Mass, we cannot expect to be able just to show up and get a seat. So parishes will work out a system of fair access for everyone in the parish. Check with your parish to see what they're able to put in place. And if you're tempted to go to a parish other than your own in search of Mass, please resist the temptation. It will be challenging enough for parishes to provide for their own parishioners in these restricted circumstances. When you arrive at church, you'll be greeted and asked a number of questions related to health and travel, as recommended by Alberta Health Services. This is obviously to protect your safety and that of others. You will also be asked to give your name and contact information. This is so that you can be easily found if it turns out that someone present at Mass with you has COVID-19. You will see any staff and volunteers helping at Mass wearing masks and possibly gloves. Don't be alarmed at this. It just recognizes that anyone who may not always be able to maintain physical distancing needs to take steps to protect others, such as donning a mask. And if you come to Mass, you'll need to bring a mask too. As long as physical distancing is assured, you won't need to wear it all through Mass, but you will be required to wear it as you approach for Holy Communion. Both you and the person distributing Holy Communion will have to wear masks at that time, for the obvious reason that physical distance cannot be maintained at the moment of reception. With respect to receiving Holy Communion, we shall not distribute the precious blood. The sharing of the chalice is not prudent in these pandemic circumstances. The bishops are also directing that Holy Communion be received in the hand only, and not on the tongue. Now let me say an extra word about that. We bishops recognize that the faithful have a right to receive communion on the tongue. That's not in question. The Church's liturgical directives are clear on this, and they must be respected. At the same time, the law of the Church recognizes the responsibility of the bishop to direct the exercise of rites in his diocese for the sake of the common good. This might mean an occasional and temporary restriction on the exercise of a particular rite. It's clear to the bishops that our circumstances of pandemic are an occasion that warrants the limitation of Holy Communion to reception on the hand for the sake of the protection of everyone's health. This will be difficult for many people to hear, I know, and I ask for your understanding. This restriction will be reviewed regularly over the next number of months in dialogue with medical experts. There will not be any singing at Mass during this first stage of resumption. You know by now that the virus is communicated by droplets carried on our breath. Singing can carry these further than normal speech, and therefore beyond the 2-meter distancing that we are keeping. One point in particular I want to stress is this. If any parish is unable to meet these conditions fully, they're not permitted to resume the public celebration of Mass. This could mean that a parish is unable to begin on June 1st and may need more time to put everything in place. So please check with your parish to see what the plan is. And that latter point leads me to make this appeal. Parishes will need volunteers, especially for registration, greeting, ushering, and cleaning. Many of the people who normally do these ministries fall into an age group that's encouraged not to come to the church. So if you are already involved in ministry and have taken our Call to Protect training, please give some thought as to how you might help in a manner other than your usual ministry. Someone from the choir might help with cleaning. A reader might take on the role of usher, and so on. Much help will be needed, so thank you. Now, I realize that this message is already much longer than my other video messages, so please bear with me as I address one last point. Many people will wonder if they should come to Mass or not, as long as the virus is still with us. What I can say is this. The dispensation from the Sunday Mass obligation remains in place, so if you are nervous about coming to church, you're in no way obliged to do so. Persons over the age of 65 are encouraged not to come to Mass, and anyone with a chronic health condition or who feels in any way even slightly ill definitely should not come. Access to Mass will remain available through live stream technology. The Mass I celebrate from the Basilica at 10:30 on Sundays will continue to be live streamed, and you can check with your own parish to see what possibilities they might be able to offer in this regard. It'll take a while to get used to all of this, so let's be patient with ourselves and with one another. Many parishes have significantly reduced the number of staff because of the drop in donations, so there'll be a need for a lot of pitching in and good collaboration to make this work. And I know we can. What we are working together toward is what is most important to all of us, the return to the public celebration of Mass. We need to be together to hear the Word and be nourished by the Eucharist. So let's commit to work together well to make this happen. Thanks very much. Stay well, and God bless.